I'm David. I sing and play keys and guitar in the collection.
My name's Graham. I play horns and then some auxiliary stuff in the collection.
My name's Josh Linhart. I play drums in the collection.
My name is Joshua Ling, and I play electric guitar in the collection.
And I'm Sarah Howell, and I'm playing keys and synth and some backing vocals.
The collection sound is like alternative indie folk rock pop.
Nothing else.
Yeah. Nothing else.
I play a Fender Telecaster. That's been my dream guitar for a long time. And I love everything about it. I'm a big Walrus audio fan, and I'm also just like a pedal hoarder. So I've got first of all, the canvas tuner, always important. Then I run into a Deep Six compressor, a couple of overdrives, the Warhorn overdrive, the Ages overdrive, into the Silt fuzz pedal, which is really sick. It's a tube-driven fuzz pedal, so it's got a little tube in there, which just gives it this nice, warm, really warm fuzz tone that I really like. Then I go into the Walrus Monument. I have a lot of Walrus pedals. Monument Tremolo, which just is a really nice tap tempo tremolo that I really like because it controls. I can really dial it in for each song, and it just gives a nice warm sound. I have the Lore, which is a octave reverb analog delay machine, which is mostly just like the most ambient and ethereal sounding pedal. So any of our like really ambient or like more moody tracks, it's mostly using that. And then I run into the Avalanche Run, which is Earthquaker Devices digital delay. That's just a super versatile delay pedal. I run that on almost every single song. It's sick. You can really hone that in as well. It can go from crazy to really subtle, which I really like. And it also has a built-in reverb to add a little bit of reverb in there. And then I run into the Afterneath reverb pedal, also from Earthquaker Devices, which is just like the most wizard in a cave. Or that's literally the image, is a wizard in a cave, and it just sounds like the most vast reverb you could ever want, or you can tone it down a lot. Just really versatile pedals. And yeah, I think tone is just like really important, and I think utilizing all of those to really craft what's right for each song, and honing in how to blend that with all the other things that are happening in the band has been like really important to me, and I really love it. I would go through a Vox AC30, classic amp, just like really warm, rich. I love that sound, and will probably never change. Sorry, Fender bros. That British tone is just so good.
Isn't it?
I also play guitar, but I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I have literally no pedals other than a tuner pedal. The Polytune. The Polytune Mini, whatever is the one. Yeah. I play a Fender Mustang, and also I play into an AC15, a Vox AC15. So it's not the most interesting setup, except I really like my guitar a lot. It's a guitar that someone gave me a while ago, and it's a 1965 Fender Mustang that it's been really fun. On this tour, I'm using a TC Helicon Voice Live 2 to do vocal looping, and then I have it with MIDI plugged into my Nord so that I can do vocoder and stuff on a bunch of the songs, which is really fun. And I use the Helicon for a few other like little like telephone effects and things like that. And then I have the Nord, which I'm using both for like keyboard parts and the vocoder stuff, but I also then am like creating looping keyboard synth parts, and that is running out to a volume pedal so that I can control it while I'm playing guitar on and off at different points with the keyboard. I guess that's it. I guess that's the majority of my fun stuff, but it kind of feels like all of my gear is like connected in one big circle so that I can control stuff in different ways. And the Nord has been really fun because there's just so many different sounds. I have the newest Nord, and it has like the synth module on it, so it has 3 different synths you can create at the same time. And was kind of a fun challenge when we finished this record, because we used so many analog synths to figure out how to recreate all those sounds from scratch on a Nord as like digital synths. So a lot of it came from just wanting to figure out how to recreate this record. And we did this one part that had a vocoder in the record, and I was like, oh shoot, I have to figure it's such a feature in that song, like I have to figure it out live. But then it just became an easier way to do big harmony parts, because there's so many harmonies on this album. So there's just certain sections of songs where it's like, even with all 6 of us, we're not going to be able to fully recreate like the harmony sections. And so it's just the nice thing is like because the vocoder is being controlled by the voice live, I can be playing keyboard parts. Like I can have the Nord set. There's a few songs where I have it set and I'm playing like synth parts, but that's also controlling what the vocoder is doing for my voice at the same time. And then I can toggle both of them off at different times. So that it's like just vocoder or just synth or things where it's both, which has been kind of mind-bending to figure out, but really fun.
You talking about synths reminded me that I left out my Julia chorus pedal, which I used to create this like really warbly, like super warbly vibrato sound on a song off the new record that almost emulates like this weird synth sound. Just like really cool.
I did want to say something about David's vocoder thing first, because he's doing a really good job with this tour, but I think I wanted to remind him that the reason he got that thing was because he got in a bike accident and couldn't play any instruments, and a really sweet fan bought it for him so he'd have something fun to do when he couldn't play an instrument on a tour. And he's using it very well.
Yeah.
But that is the origin story is just fun.
Yeah. So I played trombone and trumpet back when the band had a few more members. We had like a whole horn section, and as we kind of changed and had fewer members, I was trying to like think of ways to sound like more than one horn, and so started getting into like octave pedals and whatnot. And I feel like slowly honed in the board to make a little bit more sense and spend a little bit more money here and there to make it less janky. Right now, the way I have it set up is I take a signal from my microphone into a preamp and then split the signal, one of which goes straight to a summer and to the board, so they have a clean signal, and the other one that goes through my chain. I go through a Super Ego. I'm really not using it for all it can do, I'm certain. I just use it to like freeze a horn part in like 2 different songs so that I can just have one note hanging there while I play around it. I have 2 pitchfork octave pedals, mostly for when we play Get Lost. There's a part where I need to switch really quickly from an octave to like a major third or something, and I found that I missed that part way less whenever I had 2, but now I'm using it for like a little bit of low octave and like a little bit more low octave. I don't know. I'm using those in a little bit of a silly way, but and then I have just a really simple distortion pedal. I don't remember the brand, followed by the Walrus Audio Fathom Reverb. And for a lot of these new songs, especially live, I've just been going all the way wet with like no decay or all decay, I guess, like to where it's not like huge reverb, but it's very present. And yeah, I'm enjoying working around that tune. I like turn off like the summer pedal that I have before I send it to the board. I can like toggle on and off my wet and dry signal. So I'll like toggle off my dry signal and just have like super reverby, distorted, like high octave whistle coming through, and it sounds fun and spacey.
One of my best friends, named Nick Love, just is a drum builder. He just picked that up on the side. He's a very good metal drummer in his own right, but learned how to build drum kits out of mostly stave built kits, which is, if you're not familiar, they're built like a barrel basically, and then you carve the edges of them to make the edges round, or you put it in a lathe. Typically what you do is you put them together and then you just kind of fix everything so that it looks really round, so there's a little more margin for error. But with the drum kit that I have, I had just auditioned and jumped into the collection, and Nick just called me and said, "Hey, your drum set is a piece of shit. I'm gonna build you a new drum kit for this tour." And I said, "Okay, what do we do?" And I'd already designed it with him a long time ago because it was something I was dreaming of. This is gonna let my Christian show a little bit, but I have a lot of inspiration from this album by Ascend the Hill, that has these really massive, deep drums. Everything's really detuned, and all the cymbals are really big. So that's what I wanted with this drum kit. So we made everything as big as possible. Like my bass drum is a 24 round by 24 long, so it's very massive. My floor tom is a bass drum. It's an 18 by 20. And then my rack tom is also the size of my old floor tom. It's a 14. So they're huge. And it's made out of a barn, actually. My friend Nick lived in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, and there was an ash barn that had been sitting on his property for 150 years that he was told to take down. And so we took the wood and we cleaned it up and we cut it into all these pieces, because it's like a puzzle piece. My bass drum is 64 pieces. It's not actually round. It's a 64 piece polygon basically. And so he did all the math because he's a fucking genius. He put it all together, and I mean, yeah, it's wild because it's about this thick. Everything is. So it's an old barn. It's got the nail holes in it from the barn. We just cleaned the top off the wood and put polyurethane on it so it wouldn't get more stuff into it. And I love it. We made the bearing edge like a timpani, because I majored in classical percussion and I wanted that really warm timpani tone. And since there's so much wood, I tuned them once at the beginning of tour to get them balanced, and then I just balanced the rest of tour to make sure they are still balanced. But I let them do whatever they want. So in a really like hot or cold environment, depending on humidity, they change drastically. They can be really, really high in some venues and really, really low in some venues. So much so that I have to just tune them up enough to make them sing again. It's wild. They're very unique, very different, and it's the only drum set like in the world. He also put a lighting system in there, which is really fun. It's just like the strip lighting from Lowe's, and we wired it in such a weird way that, I mean, there's like all these controllers and stuff on the inside of the bass drum. They're all mounted internally, so you just plug into the side of the bass drum to make it work. And we used MIDI cables to plug in all the other drums so that they can light up.
And the kick drum, the kick mic and the bass.
Yes, and we shock mounted an Audix D6 kick drum mic inside so that I could have a head that didn't have a hole in it, so there wouldn't be a mic in front of my bass drum, because I'd get really annoyed with that because my drum set's beautiful and I wanted to look nice. And so there is hardwired in the so that the venue can just plug into the side of my bass drum to mic my drum kit, which is like super fun. Also fun little things, like I have wooden rims and I have a marching band like bass drum like rim saver on there. I have rototoms, which is a major thing for the collection, which I love because the 80s are awesome. And like a bunch of other stuff. I love big cymbals, so I've got a 22-inch K-Ride. I've got an 18-inch Dream Crash that is really fun, and then I've got 16-inch hi-hats from that are Meinl that are really nice and dark. I'm also borrowing David's drum machine and Graham's trombone. So we're having a good time. My drums are so big that I need extra long drumsticks, so I go for ones that are like the currently I'm using the Extreme 5Bs because they're a little bit longer by Vic Firth. So I like any stick that's long enough that I can actually hit all my drums easier, because if they're too short I have to reach a little too far because they're too big, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Mine is probably the least interesting, but I've got a Korg SV1, which I really like. The 73 key means it's more portable than maybe David's Nord, even though I would love to have a Nord. But I grew up playing classical piano, and so it's only in like more recent years that I've been playing more sort of keyboard parts. And the SV1 has some great sort of Rhodes-ish sounding presets. And then I also recently got my first synth, so I have a Minilogue analog synth, and I'm still learning it, but trying to recreate some of the sounds from the album has been a fun way to start messing around with that. So, and then I also have a Vibra-Slap and a bicycle bell mounted on some handlebars with streamers just for fun, because we need a little whimsy in the collection setup. So, yeah.
My Fender Telecaster is the 51 reissue that I saved up a ton of money for. I am a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, and just have always wanted that guitar, and it's like his iconic Telecaster. And I got it literally like a week, or no, it was like 3 days after I saw him in concert for the first time, and it was just like a super magical experience, and something that I will like never forget. And then just like having that guitar like 2 days after that was just like really special and meaningful, and like, yeah, that guitar means the world to me, and I'll never part with it.
It's not the trombone that I'm currently playing, but the one that Joshua is borrowing is actually the same one that my dad used in middle school, and he was very bad and only just like watched the person beside him and tried to follow the position that he was playing. But it was sitting in the attic, and that's the only reason I ever started playing trombone, was because it's like what was available when I started Wind Ensemble. But that was what I played for the first like 6-7 years of the band. Bruce Springsteen's my dad.
Great.
Right. I think that's it for me.
Oh, hey, thank you for having us, Bella.
Thank you so much, Bella.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
That was awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us, Bella.
That was